had no ferries. Well, let's talk now to Ben Murray from the Maritime UK, which represents the UK's ports and shipping industry. Ben, good to talk to you. So as we prepare to leave the European Union, how prepared would you say your industry is with less than 3 months to go?
Well, good evening. I think the maritime sector throughout history has shown that it is able to adapt and respond to any number of challenges. And I think for a long time now, we've been working very closely with government to prepare for what we hope will be a good deal for Britain and for Europe. But increasingly, we've become concerned, as others have across Europe and across the economy, that we're not going to get that deal. So we ask the government to put increasing effort into no-deal preparation planning, and that's what it's doing. So we welcome the extra effort that it's got to. Our members, our companies are working very closely with government. Our preference remains, and has always been, for a deal. But it's right that this no-deal planning is occurring.
I mean, tell us how your companies are preparing. I mean, for example, do you have the necessary number of ships, the necessary number of manpower, for example?
There's always a challenge, and something we do have a challenge with skills, and we're putting a lot of effort into ensuring we have those skills that we need, regardless of whether we leave or stay in the European Union. In terms of numbers of ships, that's not really something people keep in supply. The market provides what is required to run an operation. This specific company that we're looking at is engaged on a commercial basis in finding ships, and government will have made sure that its due diligence process has been met in that regard. But it's not the sort of thing you have spare ships laying around for this kind of operation. Specifically on ferries, there's not a huge number of ferries in supply, but again, government will have done its due diligence work to ensure that those ferries are available for this company to start its journey and its routes from the end of March.
I think I'm right in saying that there are somewhere in the region of 2 million trucks that shuttle through the Channel Tunnel every year. I mean, how prepared is the maritime sector to be able to absorb all the inevitable disruption that there's going to be?
It depends what part of the sector you're in. If we're specifically looking at ports here, some ports trade mainly with the rest of the world, some trade predominantly with Europe, and those that trade predominantly with the European Union are the ones that will face greatest challenges from leaving the European single market and the customs union. And those are those you've heard specifically about Dover and similar ports. They have a challenge. There's not enough space at Dover, and that's why government's looking at capacity elsewhere. That won't necessarily solve all the problems, but it's part of a solution. I'll repeat, we don't want a no deal, but it's right that we prepare for one just in case it comes about. Now, the other ports that trade with the rest of the world don't necessarily have that same set of problems, and they might be looking at some of the possible benefits that there could be in increased trade. But it's worth remembering in all of this that a no deal would be hugely damaging to the whole of the economy. You hear different sectors making that point day after day, and any impact on the economy will damage our sector, because we are responsible for facilitating 95% of that trade, which is worth £500 million a year.
We are at a critical juncture from your point of view, from the maritime sector's point of view. I mean, how important is it that we do get this right with less than 3 months to go?
You're right, just 3 months to go, so it's time is of the essence. We said just before Christmas that the deal that the Prime Minister negotiated should be supported by parliamentarians, because the one thing we do need is certainty, stability and predictability as soon as possible. If we delay any further, it won't just be this side of the channel that will be suffering, it will be the other side too. And we need to get that deal across the line so that we can prevent the sort of challenges that we're trying to avoid, quite rightly, with no deal planning. But I'll repeat, our preference is for a deal to be agreed as soon as possible.
Ben, very interesting talking to you. Thank you for your time.